who says, ask the nominee how he will ensure free, fair, and precise election by ensuring counting and release of result is fast and accurate, like in the US, where results for over 200 million voters is released in less than 48 hours, whereas here, we just have a less than 1/8 of the same. He's also, of course, not factually correct, because we know the case of Florida in the US. Yes. But you can answer.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. That is a very genuine and good question.
Yes.
But the ministry that probably, if you confirm me, will have very little on the issue of elections, because there is a body. But as a Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, I would want a situation where I walk into a ballot room where elections are being held. I am identified digitally, I vote digitally, and my vote is counted that minute. That is a dream that every other politician who has suffered things like I have suffered on issues of elections, it will be a thing of the past, but it's a dream for many countries.
Before I come to the final issues, Honorable Kabogo, as a Kenyan, and if you are confirmed, you've been repeatedly asked here about cyberbullying, pornography, and dirty material on the net that's accessed by our children. We were in Australia in October, and the Prime Minister of Australia was moving a bill, the Prime Minister himself, to curtail access to social media by under 16s because of these kind of reasons. I'm not saying you need that kind of drastic action, but from where you sit, what ideas do you have in protecting children under 16s from access to filth material that is all over?
Mr. Speaker,
I meet many parents who cry and say, look, I walked into my son's room and I didn't believe what I saw. How old was your son? 7. I walked into my daughter's room, I didn't believe what I saw. How old is your daughter? 10.
Mr. Speaker.
And remember, the state has a duty to protect and guarantee and guard the morals of our children.
Mr. Speaker, as a parent, from where I sit, I don't think what you saw in Australia, if we did that here, would be a drastic move. It may be the first step towards curtailing such dirty players on the internet. The other thing is create very strict regulations for people like Facebook or TikTok, because they are on platforms, so that Kenya has a negotiation and an agreement with those platforms that they cannot do this, because even doing the law, as Australia is planning to do, enforcement, Mr. Speaker, is one challenge. Mm-hmm. But I would prefer to recommend to Cabinet that such a law be put in place ASAP, because what is out there is really shocking. And we cannot deal with the morals and teach children morals if this is what they see on the internet. It gets to a point, as a parent, you wish that there was no internet. You wish there was no social media, because of the exposure of these things in the minds of children. So it's a bad problem. It's worse than gambling. It is really bad. And as Minister, if I'm confirmed, Mr. Speaker, I know there's a lot of money that these companies spend to stay afloat. But as a country, if we take a stand that this cannot happen in Kenya, and a drastic move is taken to ban one of them, then the rest will toe the line. If you see the debate on TikTok and between America and China, you will see that money is really moving, but something positive is about to happen. So as a Kenyan, a parent, and probably as a minister, is something that is really concerning about what is available there. You cannot even face your children in your own living room because of the material that has come to their heads. And you will see a family that has a boy and a girl of probably that age of 7 and 8. Your guess is as good as mine, Mr. Speaker, what you would see them do. And it is killing for a parent to be able to deal with such a thing.
Thank you, nominee. I will now ask you a few other questions. You told us how hardworking you are and how much money you have made. What is your net worth in terms of assets, houses,
Mr.
land,
Speaker,
cash, and bank?
Residential houses, Mr. Speaker, my total net worth is about 700 million. Movable assets of about 40 million, Mr. Speaker. Land and farm, about 756 million, Mr. Speaker. Cash and current assets of about 64 million, Mr. Speaker. Beg your pardon. And interest and shares in companies, approximately 1.5 billion. So a total of about 3.01 billion, Mr. Speaker. Yes. Conservatively, Mr. Speaker.
Conservatively, yes. You are worth over 3 billion. That's what you said, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Have you ever been convicted? Yes, Jeanette.
Mr. Speaker, when I listened to the presentation on the issue of net worth, the nominee said he has a movable assets. I suspect that should be vehicles and such things.
Yes,
for
Mr.
40
Speaker.
million shillings.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Only.
Conservatively, yes, sir.
Yeah, I saw another vehicle that looks very ugly. I thought that alone is 40 million. The one that looks like something else on the road. You remember?
Mr. Speaker, vehicles get devalued almost up to zero, accounting-wise. And you know the prudent rule in accounting, you anticipate both losses and profits. So, yes, it could be about 40 million.
Yes, Murugara?
It is said he also owns a chopper, and I don't see it anywhere here. A chopper. He actually it's a movable. No.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
it is true. I had one at some point when I was a young man.
What happened to it?
And I could fly it myself. I'm a pilot myself, Mr. Speaker. So when I couldn't fly as much, I decided to let it go.
You sold it?
Yes, I sold it.
So it's part of the 3.06 billion.
Yes, it's part.
Have you ever been convicted of an offense in a court of law?
No, sir, I have never been convicted.
Have you ever been adversely mentioned in any parliamentary committee report, apart from the cited documents?
No, I have never been mentioned, Mr. Speaker.
Do you hold an office in a political party?
No, I don't, Mr. Speaker. I resigned from Tujibebe when I was nominated by the president.
You nominated a caretaker.
Not as yet. The party is going through the process.
Have you ever been dismissed or removed from an office?
No,
on
sir.
account of contravention of Article 75 of the Constitution?
No, sir, I have never been.
Okay. Have you ever been adversely associated with practices that depict bias, favoritism, tribalism, nepotism in the discharge of your duties?
No, sir, but a couple of years ago, I was taken to court on hate speech, but I was acquitted of the charges. That's like nine years ago that I had said something in a Thika stadium that was not pleasant for political opponents, but I was taken to court and I was acquitted.
Was it tribalistic or nepotistic?
No, it was not tribalistic. It was just political statements.
Right. Thank you. We now come to an end with you. Make sure you collect your documents that have been cross-checked with what we have and found to be in order. There was a bit of memoranda on you. We've seen your responses, and they are reasonably satisfactory. So unless you are lawfully held,
Thank you so much.
you are discharged to
thank
go
you so
back
much,
to your
Mr. Speaker.
businesses.
And, members of the National Assembly. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, Honorable Kabogo. Members, we'll have a 10-minute break to allow the clerk and his team to prepare for the next nominee. Yeah. So we resume at 5:50, 10 to 6.